Today, we will see that the greatest fear is inside you. There is no ghost. It's all in your head.
My old house stood on the edge of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, its weathered clapboard facade whispering tales of 1850 when it was built. I inherited it from my grandparents 2 years ago, drawn to its low cost and the quiet charm of this historic town, though I never cared much for its Civil War lore. That changed when my Uncle Robert, a retired history professor, arrived last fall, his suitcase stuffed with books and his eyes alight with excitement. "Alex, this house was a field hospital in 1863, he said over dinner, his voice thick with passion. "Soldiers died here during the Battle of Gettysburg. Their stories are still here." I brushed it off, uneasy at the thought of death lingering in my home. But the next morning, I found him dead in my old bedroom where he'd been staying. The coroner called it a heart attack, natural for a man of 67. Yet, as I stood in the silent room, a chill settled over me, hinting at something far less ordinary. The funeral was held at Evergreen Cemetery, a somber place just a mile from my house, where Civil War soldiers rest alongside locals. I buried Uncle Robert there, his grave marked by a simple stone. That night, unable to face my bedroom, now tainted by his death, I tried sleeping on the couch, but exhaustion won and I returned to my room. Around midnight, the air grew icy and my breath caught as I opened my eyes. There he was, Uncle Robert, standing at the foot of my bed. His form was faint like mist, but his eyes burned with an intensity I'd never seen in life. "Uncle Robert?" I whispered, my voice shaking. He didn't move, just stared. I fumbled for the lamp, and when the light flooded the room, he was gone. I told myself it was grief, a trick of my tired mind. But deep down, I knew it was real. The apparitions became a nightly torment. Every evening, as the clock neared midnight, the room would grow cold and Uncle Robert would appear, always at the foot of my bed. His expression was a mix of sorrow and urgency, as if he needed to tell me something but couldn't. I tried speaking to him, asking what he wanted, but he never responded, just watched me with those haunting eyes. Sleep became impossible. I'd lie awake, dreading his arrival. I researched online and found that seeing loved ones after death is common, often called after-death communications, especially during grief. But this felt different, too vivid, too persistent. I began to wonder if Uncle Robert was trapped, unable to move on, and if his presence was tied to the house's dark history. Desperate for answers, I dug through Uncle Robert's belongings. Among his books and papers, I found a leather-bound journal filled with notes about our house. He'd been researching its role as a field hospital, convinced it held secrets from the Battle of Gettysburg. One entry stood out: suspected hidden room where critical patients were treated, possible unmarked graves nearby. A hidden room? I'd lived here for years and never heard of such a thing. Driven by curiosity and fear, I began searching the house, tapping walls and checking floorboards. In the basement, behind a dusty shelf of gardening tools, I found a false panel. Prying it open revealed a small, dark room, its air thick with the scent of decay. Inside were rusted medical tools and stains on the floor. Blood, I was sure. Standing in that hidden room, I felt a wave of cold air, and faint whispers seemed to echo from the walls, like voices from another time. I fled, heart pounding, and locked the door behind me. That night, the apparitions changed. Uncle Robert wasn't alone. Shadowy figures in tattered Union and Confederate uniforms wandered my room, some clutching wounds, others staring blankly. One figure, a man in a blood-stained surgeon's coat, seemed to notice me, his hollow eyes locking on to mine. They moved as if caught in a loop, reliving their final moments. I realized Uncle Robert's research had stirred something in the house, binding his spirit to these restless souls. I needed to understand what he'd uncovered and why he was still here.
I contacted the Gettysburg Historical Society, sharing my discovery of the hidden room. A historian visited and confirmed the house's history as a field hospital during the 1863 battle. Many died here, she said, and some believe their spirits linger, especially near unmarked graves. She mentioned rumors of soldiers buried hastily in the area, their bodies never properly laid to rest. I also reached out to a paranormal investigator who brought equipment to measure electromagnetic fields and record electronic voice phenomena. In the hidden room, his devices went wild, picking up faint voices saying, "Help us," and "Find it." He warned me that Uncle Robert's spirit might be trapped because he'd uncovered a truth the house wanted hidden, and now I was part of it.
The investigator suggested a memorial to honor the soldiers who died in the house, hoping it would bring peace to their spirits and free Uncle Robert. I organized a small ceremony inviting historians, local reenactors, and a pastor. We gathered in the backyard, near where the historians suspected a mass grave might lie. As we read the names of known soldiers who perished in Gettysburg, the air grew still, and I felt a strange lightness, as if the house itself was exhaling. That night, I braced for the apparitions, but my room remained empty. No Uncle Robert, no soldiers. I thought it was over, but the next day I found a rusted metal box in the hidden room containing letters from soldiers treated there. One letter described a cursed room where men saw visions before dying.
Reading the letters, I learned that the hidden room wasn't just a hospital. It was a place where a desperate surgeon had tried to contact the dead, believing he could save lives by understanding the afterlife. Uncle Robert's notes suggested he'd found evidence of these experiments and was trying to verify them when he died. His death in that room, so close to the soldiers' restless spirits, seemed to have bound him to them. With the investigators' help, I performed a cleansing ritual, burning sage and reciting prayers to release the spirits. During the ritual, the whispers grew louder, then stopped abruptly. The house felt different afterward, as if a weight had lifted. I hoped Uncle Robert and the soldiers had finally found peace.
Months later, the house felt like home again. The hidden room was sealed and documented as a historical site, drawing curious tourists who wanted to hear its story. I visit Uncle Robert's grave at Evergreen Cemetery regularly, leaving flowers and reflecting on his passion for history. Gettysburg is a town where the past never truly fades, and my experience has become part of its lore. I still wonder if I saw Uncle Robert because of grief or because he truly lingered, but I'm grateful for the closure I found. The house, once heavy with unseen presences, now feels lighter, though I keep a nightlight on, just in case. I've learned to respect the history that surrounds me, knowing it's never far away. Walking through Gettysburg's battlefields, where the air hums with the weight of history, I've come to see the town differently. Places like Devil's Den and Little Round Top, just minutes from my house, are alive with stories of soldiers who never left. My own story, though personal, fits into this tapestry of hauntings. Research suggests that grief can manifest as visions, but in Gettysburg, the line between the living and the dead blurs easily. I've shared my tale with locals who nod knowingly, unsurprised by another ghost story. The house remains a testament to the past, its walls holding memories of sacrifice and loss. And though I no longer see Uncle Robert, I feel his presence in the quiet moments, a reminder that some bonds and some histories endure beyond death. I was 16, living in a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio, in a 2-story house with a sprawling backyard that edged onto a dense wooded area. It was a chilly October Saturday in 2025, and my parents had gone to a friend's dinner party, leaving me alone. My younger brother was at a sleepover, so it was just me and our golden retriever, Max. The house, built in the 1950s, always creaked, but I was used to it. I was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through my phone when the air felt heavier, like someone was watching me. I brushed it off as teenage paranoia, but Max's ears perked up, his eyes fixed on the hallway. I tried to focus on my phone, but the silence was oppressive, broken only by the faint hum of the fridge. I told myself it was nothing, just the house settling. But a nagging feeling grew in my chest. I wasn't alone, even though I knew I should be. The night was about to take a turn I'd never forget.
I was in the kitchen making a sandwich when I heard it, a voice clear as day calling my name from the living room. "Honey, are you there?" It was my mom's voice, soft and familiar. I froze, knife in hand, thinking she'd come home early. "Mom?" I called back, stepping into the living room. It was empty. The TV was off, the lights dim. My heart skipped a beat. I checked the front door, locked. The windows closed. No one was there. Max whimpered, his tail low, staring at the staircase. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself I was imagining things, but the air felt colder now, like a draft from nowhere. I stood there, straining to hear anything else, but the house was silent again. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Having fun at dinner? Be home late." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. If she was still out, whose voice did I hear?
The voice came again, this time from upstairs. "Honey, can you come here?" It was unmistakably my mom, but now it sounded urgent. My legs felt like lead as I climbed the stairs, Max trailing behind, growling softly. "Mom?" I called, my voice shaking. No answer. I checked every room. My parents' bedroom, my room, the bathroom, all empty. The hallway was dark, the air thick with an eerie stillness. Max stayed close, his fur bristling. I called my mom's cell, my hands trembling. "Hey, sweetie," she answered, her voice cheerful. "Mom, are you home?" I whispered. "No, we're still at dinner." "What's wrong?" I told her about the voice, and she paused before saying, "It's probably just the wind. Stay safe, okay?" But I knew it wasn't the wind. I felt eyes on me, even though I was alone.
Back downstairs, I sat with Max, trying to calm my nerves. The TV flickered on, static filling the screen. I hadn't touched the remote. Max barked, his eyes fixed on the hallway again. I turned off the TV, my heart racing. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the kitchen. I grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the sound, Max at my heels. The kitchen was empty, but a drawer was open, one I hadn't touched. I slammed it shut, my breath hitching. I called my mom again, but the call dropped. Max growled, his gaze locked on the back door. I checked the lock. It was secure, but as I turned away, I heard a faint whisper, "Honey," right behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. Max's growls turned to whimpers, and I knew we weren't alone. I stayed in the living room, clutching Max until my parents got home. I didn't tell them again. I didn't want them to think I was crazy. But the next week, it happened again. I was studying in my room when I heard, "Dinner's ready," from the kitchen. I rushed downstairs, but no one was there, no food cooking. I called my mom. She was at work. My brother later admitted he'd heard voices too, calling his name when he was alone. We told our parents, who brushed it off as imagination, but they agreed to install security cameras. One night, the camera caught a shadowy figure moving from the kitchen to the living room, vanishing into thin air. My dad said it was a glitch, but I saw the fear in his eyes. The incidents escalated. Footsteps echoed upstairs when we were all downstairs. Doors creaked open at night. Once, I smelled my grandma's lavender perfume. she'd died years ago. My parents started researching the house's history. It had been a boarding house in the 1960s, and a woman had died there under mysterious circumstances. Her name was Margaret, and she'd lived alone, often calling out for her children who'd moved away. The realization hit me. Her voice sounded like my mom's. Was she mimicking her to get my attention? The thought made my skin crawl.
We started avoiding the house at night, staying with friends or relatives. But the voices followed me. One night at my aunt's house in Dayton, I heard it again. "Honey, are you there?" I didn't sleep that night. My parents decided we couldn't stay in that house anymore. We moved to a new place in Cincinnati, a modern apartment with no history. The voices stopped, but I still check every room before bed, afraid I'll hear that call again.
The move didn't erase the fear. I researched paranormal experiences and found stories of mimic spirits, entities that imitate loved ones to lure people. Some say they're harmless, others say they're malevolent. I don't know what Margaret wanted, but her voice haunts me. I keep a journal now, writing down every detail, hoping to make sense of it. My brother still has nightmares, and my parents don't talk about it. The house is for sale now, but I wonder if the next owners will hear her too.
Living in Cincinnati feels safer, but I'm changed. I double-check locks, keep lights on at night, and Max stays closer than ever. I read about after-death communications, where spirits try to reach out, but this felt different, too persistent, too real. I visited the old house once, standing outside, and felt that same heavy presence. I haven't been back since. Sometimes I wake up at night, heart pounding, thinking I hear my mom's voice. I check my phone. She's asleep down the hall. It's just a memory, or maybe it's something more. I don't know, and I'm not sure I want to find out. The house in Columbus holds secrets I may never understand, but I'm grateful to be far away from it.
I lived alone in a small house in San Antonio, Texas, with my 2 dogs, Bella, a German Shepherd, and Max, a Labrador. It was a quiet neighborhood, the kind where everyone knew each other. On a humid July night in 2025, I was woken at 2 a.m. by Bella's frantic barking. It wasn't her usual alert for a stray cat. It was desperate, almost panicked. Max was awake too, staring at the living room window, his ears perked. I tried to calm Bella, but she wouldn't stop, her eyes fixed on the darkness outside. The air felt thick, charged with something I couldn't name. I told myself it was nothing, maybe a raccoon, but Bella's intensity made my stomach churn. I grabbed my phone, ready to call for help if needed, and approached the window, my heart pounding. I peered through the blinds, but the street was empty, bathed in the dim glow of a street lamp. Bella's barks grew louder, her body tense, hackles raised. Max whimpered, pressing against my leg. Then I heard it, a soft sobbing sound, like someone crying outside. My first thought was that someone needed help, but fear kept me rooted. I opened the window slightly, the warm night air rushing in. The sobbing was clearer now, coming from under my front porch. I strained to see, but the shadows were too deep. Bella's growls turned low and menacing, urging me to act. I called out, "Hello? Are you okay?" No response, just the sobbing, now mixed with faint muttering. My hands shook as I dialed 911, whispering to the operator that someone was outside my house. While on the phone, I kept watching the porch. The sobbing stopped, but I saw movement, a figure shifting under the steps. It looked like a person, curled up, rocking back and forth. My mind raced with possibilities: a homeless person, a neighbor in distress, or something worse. Bella's barks echoed in my ears, drowning out my thoughts. The police arrived quickly, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. They approached the porch, shouting for the person to come out. When they pulled her from under the steps, I saw a woman, disheveled, her clothes torn, clutching a knife. My breath caught. The officers restrained her, explaining she was an escaped patient from a nearby mental health facility. She'd been off her medication, delusional and dangerous. They found her hiding spot littered with food wrappers and a makeshift bed. She'd been there for hours, maybe days. I couldn't sleep that night. Bella stayed by my side, still on edge, while Max curled up in his bed. I kept replaying the moment I saw her, wondering what would have happened if I'd gone outside. The police said she'd been wandering the neighborhood, but why my porch? I checked every lock, every window, feeling exposed in my own home. The next day, I installed motion sensor lights and a security camera system, determined to feel safe again.
The cameras caught nothing unusual after that, but Bella's behavior changed. He'd stare at the porch at night, growling softly, as if sensing something I couldn't see. I started researching local news and found reports of other break-ins by unstable individuals. San Antonio's quiet streets weren't as safe as I'd thought. I began keeping a baseball bat by my bed, just in case.
Weeks later, a neighbor mentioned seeing a woman matching the description wandering nearby before that night. She'd been spotted near the San Antonio Riverwalk, talking to herself. The thought that she'd chosen my house chilled me. I started attending a local support group for home safety, sharing my story. Others had similar experiences, making me feel less alone, but more aware of the dangers around us. I still live in that house, but I'm hyper-vigilant now. Bella's barks are my early warning system, and I trust her instincts more than ever. I've learned to check the cameras before opening the door, even during the day. The memory of that night lingers, a reminder that safety is fragile, even in a quiet neighborhood. The police followed up, saying the woman was back in treatment, but I couldn't shake the image of her knife. I read about mental health crises in Texas, how underfunded facilities lead to incidents like mine. It made me angry, but also empathetic. She needed help, not just punishment. Still, the fear remains. Every time Bella barks at night, I'm back in that moment, heart racing, peering into the darkness. I check the cameras, the locks, and keep the lights on. My home is my sanctuary, but that night taught me it's not impenetrable. I'm grateful for Bella's alertness and the police's quick response, but I'll never forget the terror of looking out that window.